everybody, and welcome back to Be My Cook. In today's video, we're going to be making zucchini and pork chops. For this recipe, you're going to need cumin seed, ground cumin, garlic powder, black pepper, salt, olive oil, and Mexican oregano, boneless pork chops, garlic cloves, a tomatillo, a white onion, 4 tomatoes, and 5 zucchini. Our first step, we're going to chop all of our vegetables. We're going to chop our zucchini in circles. We don't want them too thin because they will cook down. Let me show you a piece. Just like that. And once we get all of our zucchini chopped, we're going to put those in a bowl. Make sure that you clean your zucchini, you wash it thoroughly, dry it. If there's any bad spots in your zucchini, cut it off. A little bit right here. Now I like to use these medium-sized zucchini because they taste better. They don't have as many seeds. I don't ever use the big, large ones. I always try to get the smaller ones. They work out a lot better. Now this is kind of a recipe where you're not going to make it ahead of time. You have to make it right before you're planning on eating because for one, it tastes better and it doesn't last that long if you try to reheat it. It just doesn't have the same taste. So I would not be trying to reheat this. This is something you're not going to use the next day. Okay, let's start on our tomatoes. Now these can just be in fairly large chunks. Because they will cook down. Start on our onion. This is a pretty big onion, so I'm going to cut it in half. And we want big chunks as well. That's about enough. Let's put that aside. This is a tomatillo. You don't have to use it, but when I can find them, I like to put it in this dish. It has a very unique flavor. In this dish, you almost don't know that it's in there. So if you don't want to use it, you're not going to miss it. Let's get our garlic press out. Now I'm going to add the amount of garlic that I like. If you don't like a lot of garlic, then just start with like 1 or 2 cloves in your garlic press. I'm adding fresh garlic and I'm also going to use garlic powder. Now our vegetables are all done. We're just going to set these aside. Let's start on our pork chops. I'm going to take some of this fat off of the pork chops. Gonna leave a little bit on. We want some fat on there, but not a whole bunch. We're gonna cut our pork chops into chunks, about bite size. Okay, let me show you the next step. Now in our large pan, we're gonna add about a tablespoon of olive oil. Going to turn on the heat to about medium-high. Let that warm up a bit. Now we're going to add our pork chops. We want the pork chops to be brown. Let's add some salt and pepper. Now our pork chop is brown. Now we're going to start to add the vegetables. Now what I like to do is add a little bit of zucchini first. Then we're going to add our garlic, onions, and tomatoes. And the reason why I do that is because I don't want my garlic to burn. And the rest of the zucchini on top. Now this is going to cook down. It looks like a lot. That's why we're using the stock pot. But it's going to cook down. Now we're going to add our seasonings. We're going to add a little bit more garlic powder, just a shake. We're going to add a few shakes of ground cumin. And I have some cumin seed. You don't have to use it, but I'm going to use a pinch. And I'm going to use a small amount of Mexican oregano, just a pinch. If you don't have Mexican oregano, you can also use regular oregano. We're going to add a little bit more pepper and a little bit more salt. Let's turn down the heat to low. We don't want to boil it. We just want to make sure that the zucchini starts to soften and the vegetables start to cook. It's going to make a sauce in the bottom. We're going to put a lid on for just a few minutes. And we're going to check it in about 5 minutes. Let's check. Let's give it a stir. This is a very healthy recipe. It's pretty much low carb. Of course, you're going to have to figure out your macros because there is garlic and onions in here and tomatoes. Okay, let's put the lid back on and give it another 5 minutes. And we'll check it again. Let's give this a check. Stir it around. You can see that the zucchini are starting to cook. They're almost translucent. That's what we want. That's how you know that it's done, is when all your zucchinis start to turn translucent and it cooks down. Now at this stage, you're going to be able to see that there's some sauce forming in the bottom. That's good. We want that. And let's just make a little area where I can get a spoon in there. We're going to taste it. You have to taste it for your seasonings. Okay, need some more pepper. It needs more cumin. And it needs more salt. Let's stir this around. Now you might have to adjust your seasonings a couple times to get it to taste the way that you would like it. For this recipe, you're going to want to taste it and adjust your seasonings. And you want to be able to taste the zucchini and the onions and the tomatoes and the pork chop, plus the spices. You don't want it to be too salty. You don't want it to taste like garlic. You don't want it to taste only like cumin. So it's a combination of those three spices, plus the salt and pepper. Let's put our lid on and check it again in 5 minutes. Let's check one last time. Let's give it a stir. It's looking good. At this stage, leave the lid off because you will acquire quite a bit of sauce in the bottom, and we're not making soup. We want to have a little bit on the bottom so we can use our tortillas. But leave the lid off and let it cook for another 5 minutes, and then we'll plate this up. Our zucchini and pork chops are now done. Let me show you how I serve it. Here is our zucchini and pork chops. I hope you liked this recipe. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching. Enjoy.